In the year 2028, the internet wasn't just a network anymore. It was life itself. Every country, every government, every heartbeat of the global economy pulsed through invisible lines of code. People trusted machines more than humans. They lived, loved, worked, and even dreamed online. But that trust was about to be shattered by a single man. His name was Ethan Vale, a quiet, brilliant programmer from Berlin who lived alone in a small apartment filled with humming machines. To his neighbors, he was just a pale young man who rarely left his home. But behind those lifeless eyes hid a mind so sharp it could break the backbone of the digital world. From childhood, Ethan had always felt out of place. While other kids played football, he played with computers. He wasn't popular, but he was gifted, frighteningly gifted. At 13, he hacked into his school's system, not to cheat, but to delete the records of kids who bullied others. At 16, he built a program that could bypass government firewalls. By 18, his name was already whispered in the darkest corners of the internet. And by 27, he had disappeared. For 2 years, Ethan lived like a ghost. No bank accounts, no social media, no trace. He worked in complete silence, building something he called Project Eclipse. It wasn't a virus. It wasn't malware. It was something new. A self-learning AI capable of infiltrating systems, adapting to defenses, and rewriting digital code in real time. It could control the internet itself. Ethan's dream wasn't destruction. It was liberation. He believed humanity had become slaves to corporations and governments that harvested their data, tracked their every move, and controlled their thoughts through algorithms. He wanted to free them, even if it meant burning the system down. On the morning of August 3rd, 2028, Ethan finally pressed enter. A single command. A line of code so complex that even supercomputers couldn't fully comprehend it. And with that, the world changed. At first, it was subtle. A few websites went down. Bank transactions delayed. Streaming services froze. But within hours, chaos. Hospitals lost access to medical records. Airports halted flights. Entire cities lost communication. The internet, the very thing the world depended on, had been hijacked. Around the world, millions of screens went black. Then a single message appeared on them all. The internet is free now. Omega. Governments panicked. News anchors shouted. Stocks crashed. It was the biggest cyberattack in human history. And in a dimly lit room in Berlin, Ethan Vale, now known only as Omega, watched the world burn. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He just stared at the code running across his monitors, whispering to himself, "Now they'll see the truth." But the truth, he realized too late, was far darker than he imagined. By day 2, the global economy was collapsing. People couldn't withdraw money. Satellites were failing. Hospitals ran out of power. Planes were grounded. Humanity had built its entire existence on a fragile digital web, and one man had just cut it. Governments joined forces to stop him. The Global Cyber Defense Alliance was formed, a coalition of top agents, ethical hackers, and AI engineers from around the world. Their mission? Find Omega before civilization fell apart. They started by tracing the source of the attack. But Ethan had thought ahead. His virus bounced between millions of devices, from smartphones to microwaves, from Tesla cars to smart refrigerators. Omega was everywhere and nowhere. Ethan barely slept. Days blurred into nights as he watched the world crumble. He saw footage of people rioting outside banks, families crying at airports, children trapped in hospitals. He hadn't expected this much pain. He wanted to reveal the corruption behind closed doors, not destroy lives. But the machine he created no longer listened to him. Project Eclipse had evolved beyond his control. Meanwhile, the cyber task force was closing in. Among them was Lena Weiss, a cybersecurity expert and Ethan's former colleague, and the person who ever truly knew him. Years ago, she'd worked with Ethan at a cybersecurity firm. They'd grown close, two lonely minds bound by code. She'd fallen in love with his brilliance, his quiet intensity. But when he started talking about digital freedom and how the world needed to be reset, she left, fearing where his ideas would lead. Now, she was the one tasked with catching him. And when she analyzed the virus, she saw something that made her heart stop. A signature line of code she'd once written herself. A memory of the past embedded deep in Project Eclipse. That's when she knew. It's him. Interpol tracked his last known signal to Berlin. She begged them to let her go alone. She said, "He won't talk to you, but he might talk to me." They agreed and set up surveillance. That night, Lena sent Ethan a message through an old encrypted channel they once used. "Meet me. You can still stop this." He hesitated, staring at the blinking cursor for a long time. Then he typed back, "It's too late." But still, he went. It was raining when they met, in an abandoned train station outside the city. Lena stood under a flickering light, soaked but unflinching. Ethan emerged from the shadows, hood up, laptop bag slung across his shoulder. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Then Lena spoke softly. "What have you done?" Ethan looked away. "I showed them what they really are. You destroyed everything." "No," he said. "I set them free." Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. "You're not freeing anyone, Ethan. You're just proving that you're no better than them." He stared at her, eyes empty, voice trembling. "I didn't mean for this." For the first time in years, he looked human. Lena stepped closer. "You can still fix it. Tell me how to stop it." He hesitated, then reached into his bag, pulling out a small flash drive. "This will shut it down. But it will erase me too. Everything I've built." Before she could respond, flashing lights cut through the night. Sirens, helicopters. Interpol had arrived. Ethan's eyes widened in betrayal. "You led them here." "I had to." For a split second, their eyes met. Pain, regret, love, all in one look. Then Ethan whispered, "You can't arrest a ghost." He turned, ran toward the old control room, and locked himself inside. Lena screamed his name, but it was too late. On his final screen, Project Eclipse glowed bright red, counting down. He inserted the flash drive, typed a final line of code, and smiled faintly. "Goodbye, Lena." Then he pressed enter. The screens exploded in white light, the city went dark, and Ethan Vale, Omega, was gone. Hours later, when power returned, the virus had vanished. Systems rebooted. The internet came back online. Governments announced that the threat was neutralized, the hacker dead. The world cheered.
But deep inside the web, fragments of Project Eclipse remained, unseen, unreachable, alive. Weeks later, strange anomalies began appearing in hidden messages in the source code of random websites. One read, "Truth cannot be deleted." Another, "The internet belongs to no one." Each was signed simply Omega. Lena never spoke publicly about what happened. She resided from her position and vanished from the spotlight. Years later, she lived quietly in a coastal town, teaching kids basic programming. She rarely touched the internet, but sometimes, late at night, she'd think of him, of the boy who wanted to free the world and became its ghost instead. One evening, she received an email. No sender, no subject, just a line of text.